And what I wish he would have done, believed in himself more. Yeah. I would say things like, hey, Dad, why don't you try to expand and get more clients and maybe get a couple more trucks? And he's like, no, like we can pay all our bills like this. He just had a mindset, a thermostat that was, man, if I can make, in today's money, $125,000, $130,000 a year, I can provide for my family. Why would I want to expand from that?
It's so tough. So this is somewhat comical. Okay. So I have 4 daughters and a son, and one daughter just moved out, school starting up. I feel like the last couple years we've lost some of our sense of rhythm in micro. Okay. So school's starting and I'm going to do a devotion with the kids. And so I'm like 7:10. I want you to be done with your stuff by 7:10 a.m. We're going to do a 10-minute devotion before you leave. And my 15-year-old son is like, not into it. He's like, this feels like summer camp. You want me up at set, I got to get up 15 or 20 minutes earlier because of this. And so it's that dance of feelings and success. So your son said you cared more about my success than my feelings in a sense. And it's hard because I look at my son, I'm like, you're 15. I got 3 years to make a man out of you in a sense. Like I'm not that aggressive about it. You know what I mean? But it's a tight balance. But what was cool is my 16-year-old had started crying at one point, which is very rare. And it was actually because there was some other things going on, which she opened up to me about when everyone left the room, which was like beautiful. I journaled about it this morning. It was so wonderful that she would share with me. But she started telling my son, dude, Dad's asking for 10 or 15 minutes. I've got friends that boom, 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 and boom. They have zero freedom. Like he's not requiring a lot. So anyways, just relating with you. Any other thoughts that come to mind while I was giving you a minute to breathe?
Yeah, I think there in late adolescence, there comes a point where I tried to shift towards being a friend. Right. So all along this is what you got to do. This is what you got to do. And then it's time to be a friend. And so, one summer, 5 years ago, I thought this is the only summer where they're going to have a fair degree of flexibility. Okay. So the next summer, the oldest is probably going to have a chance at an internship. Summer school is not that advantageous and they can't make that much money. So let's take a trip. So we took remember, pastor here, okay, 5-week trip to Europe.
Wow.
With the 3 of us, like 7 or 8 different countries. And so we went on a pub crawl, like our first week.
Yeah. And
everyone's like, they would bring people up to me and they're like, are you really their dad? Oh my gosh, you're a legend. My dad would never do something like this with me. And they just felt so proud that their dad was cool enough to take them on a pub crawl. My thought was, I'd rather you go on a pub crawl with me. There's some boundaries and some constraints.
Yeah.
But we got to have a lot of great conversations just on buses and in hotel rooms and at pubs.
Let me ask you this. Did you grow up that alcohol was bad and that your parents would never have done that with you?
No, actually my parents had a pretty healthy relationship with alcohol. My mom just wasn't interested in it. And my dad had grown up Roman Catholic. Okay. And they would have a bottle of wine 4 or 5 times a year. Okay. And they would get through a bottle of brandy once every 14 or 15 years. So it wasn't a big part of it. Rare.
Yeah.
Say again?
It wasn't a big part of life.
It wasn't a big part of life. Yeah. No. Yeah. And also when I got into high school, I remember one time I told my dad that I'd gotten really, really drunk at a party and it was really dumb. And I was really like, it's like God's blessing that I didn't get alcohol poisoning. Like it was really bad. And he was just so chill about it. He was like, yeah, so how did that feel? And I was like, I felt out of control. I didn't like it. He's like, yeah. So you going to do that again? I was like, no, I don't want to. He was like, cool.
Wow. Okay.
But I was 18 and I was about to go to college. So he was operating in that, hey, you're about to make your own decisions, and helping me process it rather than trying to tell me what to do when I was 18.
I dig it. Well, since we're on the topic of your dad, I like to ask, and you can answer both or answer neither. Okay. What's something that you appreciated about your dad? And then what's something you wish he would have done differently?
Yeah. So my dad, well, wow, I have a lot of things I really appreciated about him. Every day he got up and he went into the living room and he read the Bible and he prayed out loud on his knees.
Wow.
Every day I can remember.
Wow.
And then he dragged himself to work every day. And he mowed grass for a living. He owned his own business, so he was able to support 4 kids, barely. But there was just this, he never told me this is what men do. He fathered me into this is what men do. We provide for our families, no matter how cold, hot, miserable, how we feel ashamed of it. Because as he grew older, he had a lot of shame and self-worth issues where he looked down on himself for being a guy who mows grass for a living, which eventually led to him going and becoming a counselor, which is something that I wish he hadn't done, actually.
Interesting.
Because he spent his prime earning years racking up student loan debt and not working, which ultimately led our family from sort of this lower middle class to now in their later years, they're barely eking out a living.
Yeah.
And what I wish he would have done, believed in himself more. Yeah. I would say things like, hey, Dad, why don't you try to expand and get more clients and maybe get a couple more trucks? And he's like, no, like we can pay all our bills like this. He just had a mindset, a thermostat that was, man, if I can make, in today's money, $125,000, $130,000 a year, I can provide for my family. Why would I want to expand from that?